In this question, we are given the chemical reaction magnesium reacts with 2HCl to form MgCl2 plus H2 gas. So in this question, it states when 23 grams of HCl was added to 13.5 grams of MgCl2 is formed. And the first part of the question asks which reactant is the limiting reagent. So once again, for limiting reagent questions, we have to first find out the number of moles of each reagent. Since we are given the mass of each reagent, we can find the number of moles by taking mass over mR. After calculating, we get 0.6308 moles of HCl and 0.5554 moles of magnesium. Now let's take a look at the stoichiometric ratio. So from the chemical equation, we can see that 1 mole of magnesium reacts with 2 moles of HCl. So stoichiometric ratio is 1:2. Now let's compare the number of moles of magnesium and HCl with the stoichiometric ratio of 1:2. We can start comparing using either reagent. So for this example, let's use magnesium. So since the stoichiometric ratio of Mg to HCl is 1:2, then let's find out how many moles of HCl would be required to react with 0.5554 moles of Mg. So let's write that down. So following the ratio of 1:2, you would need 0.5554 times 2 moles of HCl, and that's 1.111 moles of HCl. So now let's compare the amount of HCl required with the amount of HCl that we have. We see that actually we don't have enough HCl to react with 0.5554 moles of magnesium. So we see that actually HCl is the limiting reagent. Whereas magnesium would be in excess. In the next part of the question, we are asked what mass of product MgCl2 is formed. So remember that to calculate the amount of product formed, we always have to base our calculation on the amount of limiting reagent present. Our limiting reagent is HCl, so let's take a look at the stoichiometric ratio between HCl and MgCl2. Looking at the equation, we see that 2 moles of HCl will give 1 mole of MgCl2, so the stoichiometric ratio is 2:1. Since we know the number of moles of HCl, which is 0.6308 moles, then we can calculate the moles of MgCl2, which would be moles of HCl divided by 2. So we have 0.3154 moles of MgCl2. Now that we have the moles of MgCl2, we can calculate mass of MgCl2 by taking number of moles of MgCl2 times the MR of MgCl2. And we get the answer 30 grams.